So this morning I'm gonna do all the farm chores and I'm gonna take you with me. Yeah, usually I do the chickens and the kids do the cows and Wayne works. I don't know if you could hear, but Dwayne's calling for us. Stop it. I usually do the big chickens first since we have the ducks. They make their little baby pools super disgusting. So I dump it every morning and I let it fill up while I let the bantams out. This absolutely has to be put back down or Petrie comes straight out. Set my phone down somewhere to get all messy. Somebody else is calling for us. That was probably Alfredo. Sounded like it. Every morning though, there's rocks in there. I wish that I would catch them picking up a rock and carrying it in there. There's usually actually a few. So I try and pick a different spot every day to put it in so that they don't destroy our grass until we figure out what where we're actually gonna keep it. Try and pick a spot that's not destroyed by water. It's been raining a ton lately and this grass looks like it could handle it. Let's spray it out. Next time I clean the coop, I'm gonna try and scrub it out. I just didn't have time this week. That up. Make sure I have my phone up and on camera in case they do something cool. I hear you. Look over at baby pools. I picked a bad spot apparently. Picked up their fan they knocked over. Give Broody Hen a little pat. I see that. We filled up their water or food yesterday. So I read the other day, if we feed them outside, maybe they'll be more likely not to eat their eggs. Doesn't really make sense to me, but it's not gonna rain today. So I've been trying that. Ducks getting their pond water, their puddle water, favorite part of the morning. And though they have fresh, clean water over here. Sometimes I stop in the middle and do this so that they can get their water clean. Scooch back, Sammy. Usually I take their water back in at night, but one of the kids put the chickens up for me last night, so that's why it was out. They didn't realize. Ooh, I'm real good at overflowing. Troughs and ponds. All right, over to Nugget. These ones I can just pop one side up and they won't get it. Oh, they must have really figured this one out, it feels like. Oh, it was you that put them up? See, I almost think that they could, but it will be like, you smelled what it smelled like when you open it. And it's almost like a flood of heat comes out, which might be good for the winter, but definitely not for the summer. Which we're gonna put those fans in there. I don't know if that'll help, but. Okay, you ready, Nug? Even that, the wave of heat. Yep, there's Dumbledore making his morning call. Coming? All right, I just didn't want to get, Nuggy comes down the stairs. Is he gonna go down the stairs? They need some more food, except for I'm overflowing the pond, so I'm gonna do that. Look how excited they are. They're like, yay, she forgot and it's really full. Not a very good duck owner, so I usually, it was a long fly for kids. I don't usually fill the baby pond to the brim, because then that just means more water for me to flick out the next day. So I've been trying to use up the last of the baby feed in the bantams. Speaking of, we need to go to the feed mill. I used the last bag of the big food. Although We've been getting lots of garden treats. So usually I wake them up and say, it's time to eat breakfast. I'm gonna go take care of the chickens, and then I get hay for them, and they should be out ready to let their cow out. But I was gonna give them the morning off. Usually I just take a flake. This almost looks like too big of a flake, but doesn't look like very much, but it pulls out to be a lot. Thanks. I know, I'm bringing it. Usually, oh, somebody even put more hay out. The cows are usually in their stalls when I bring this in. So, usually you just hear Atlee crying. Oh, careful. So when there's typically not a cow out here, I try and pull the flake apart so that Ember gets a turn, because sometimes they still push her away a little bit, and it's easier just for everyone to share. When there aren't cows here, sometimes I try and clean out the bottom. The last few days we've been rushed at morning time, so we haven't cleaned the bottom or around it. Maybe we'll do that tonight. Check the trough. Trough is not super duper low, so I'm not gonna fill it because I'll overflow it when I'm in here doing this stuff. So if the cows aren't in here, usually I walk in, I pat their heads and tell them good morning. If they respond well, then I open their door and let them out. So obviously the stalls are already opened up. Next step is we try and scoop the poop out of every stall so that they're ready for the night, or when we have customers come, it's not very magical to see poop all over in a stall. So it gets us ready for the evening if we clean it up now. Most of the time, that's what we do. We clean it up in the morning. Every once in a while, if we're rushing, then that gets done right before bedtime. The kids and Wayne like to throw down the hairballs from the brushes and then not clean them up when they're scooping out stalls. I like to do that because to me it looks like a chunk of poop. So even though I scoop them in the morning, I usually don't fill them back up with extra bedding until the evening. I don't know why. Probably just feels like more work. Or I'm like, oh, I overflowed the trough, or something like that. So usually, I try and keep the cows out of the barn, but especially since we've had the rabbits, they escape in sometimes. And so usually while the kids are scooping out their stalls, I sweep the barn. I figured since we had the photo shoot yesterday and they ate so much, I figured there'd be a ton. I also usually move I'm finding empathy for our kids. I usually try and move the wagon closer to them because when they dump it on the floor, especially after I already swept, it really irritates me. But it is actually super easy to dump it back on the floor when you're walking. Tried to do it like the kids. They do that. Me, I always pick up every poop and then do this part. There's more bedding at the store, right? So it's okay if we pick up some that isn't. So we, not too long ago, bought some shovels from Tractor Supply that are for this, and I thought they were terrible. So do you remember what this is? What was it? A multi-purpose shovel, I feel like, is the way to go. Another thing that we do either in the mornings or the evening are their waters. I usually like to remind them to do it at night so that if we have showings or whatever, and people, I like to keep the water in the back corner so that when people come, they don't drop feed in them. But if they're in the front corner, it's easier to get the hose to. So I like to make the kids do it at night so that when we do it, it doesn't have feed in it. I love these water bowls because if they step on them, they don't break them. But they're also really hard to dump if they're full. So we usually only fill them about halfway full. Like Atlee, hers got overflowed the other day, and apparently she doesn't drink at night. And I've just been hoping that she would drink it before I dump 90% of it on the floor. All right, so then after I scoop them out, make sure they're all shut so that the weight isn't hanging on the doors all day, or on the hinges all day. Look here, that might be why. When we didn't have the bunnies, we would flip off all the lights and all the fans. That's pretty much it for inside, well, I guess, for cow barn chores, besides dumping the wagon. For the bunnies, we have hay and feed. Oh, goodness. Felicity, look at your face. Felicity's been eating her morning hay. I know, Molly. And then a little bit of treats. There we go. I don't know how much we're supposed to feed him because I'm not a rabbit owner. I'm watching YouTube videos. We're trying to train him to go in this corner here in this little pin. So that's why we have the hay suspended over it. Supposedly maybe that will make them go potty. I can't decide. I like having them in the dog cage because you just pull that tray out quick, dump it, and put it back in. But they kick out all their bedding, so that must be why rabbit cages have the base. Clinics also watched on YouTube that sometimes bunnies don't do well on that type of water. So she insisted we have an extra type of water for the bunnies. And either they're dumping it or actually using the cup because it's almost empty every time we go in there. Here you go, girls. There's some water. So until I get all this stuff hung up, I'm kind of lazy and I don't broom back there. Probably should do that more than everywhere else because that's where the shovels get set down. Does it irritate you when I use the push broom as a pull broom? It's really sad when the sun's shining in, you can see all the dirt just flying back to where it was. And a small mini panic, like, did I ever turn off the water on the ducks? Now you're gonna have to remind me to videotape. I should have picked up that hay. Oh well, we'll do that tonight. To videotape stuff during the day. Usually I get lots of my footage in the morning. Here comes Bridget. Gonna stop here. Throw away some bedding bags. Close the barn. It's usually easier with the kid pushing behind. This is why I don't work out. I feel like I do it enough in the mornings. Oh, there's a good poop on the floor. The only thing I would change about this wagon is I wish it had a lift up. Besides that, I really like it. So over here is we had a photo session where a photographer came here and took photos of their customers. That's the typical setup we do. Hopefully soon we'll do a video just on it. Thanks for coming with me to do our morning routine, and we hope you guys have a great week.